Welcome back to Newswatch, the Year in Review. I'm Emily Bloomquist.
And I'm Rachel Begle.
Now, you might not believe that there was enough snow on the ground in mid-February to build a castle, but some students did just that. Brandon Blue has the story.
On Saturday, it took a lot of careful stacking, a lot of careful packing,
Okay.
a lot of careful smoothing, and even some tunneling to put up some of the most interesting snow castles built on Central Campus this year. That's easier said than done. For some teams, the weather posed a challenge.
It's really nice out here, which is great, but it's kind of creating a problem because the bottom layer of the snow is all ice.
For others, the plans changed halfway through the 2-hour contest.
We were gonna originally have sort of a Pokemon castle type thing with Pikachu and a Pokeball, stuff like that. After a while, we just decided to make a really big campanile.
And for others, the challenge was simply getting there on time.
Kind of going for detail / creativity. We got here an hour late, so we're doing what we can.
The contest was set up by the Inter-Residence Hall Association. Teams who built the largest, most creative, and most original castles won a $100 gift card to the ISU bookstore. Event organizer Mark Sanaki says a determined team with a good idea would have no problem winning a gift card.
Basically, the rules are pretty flexible. Each team is allowed to bring their own materials. Going along with that, though, we do have bins and colored spray if they want to make their castles colorful or whatnot.
In the end, 3 teams out of 6 went home with the gift card.
We have groups 1, 2, and 3 that won. They look so sweet.
For ISUtv, I'm Brandon Blue.
My side is clear. Cleared my side. Adam just said. I totally cleared.
All right, Brandon, so did you partake in the building process at all?
No, I was actually too busy. There were 6 teams, and I tried to get interviews with each one of them, at least 2 interviews with everybody, just because the event was like 3 hours long, and I wanted to kind of pick up when they were halfway through. And it actually paid off because the group that built the campanile that's just on the package had actually started out, as I said, building a Pokemon-themed one. They were going to have Pikachu like attacking a castle from above. I don't know how they were going to do that, but yeah, it definitely paid off to do that. So
Interesting.
to not do the snow.
Mm-hmm. What ended up being your favorite? Was it the campanile?
Oh man, no. I actually thought that for the most original thing, the living room set was probably the best. Although the fort was definitely the coolest, and those guys were just very militaristic in that they came in and they just knew what they were doing, like they've done it 1,000 times before.
Great. Thanks, Brandon.
Solving a Rubik's Cube can be quite a puzzling activity. The members of the newly founded ISU Rubik's Cube Club are trying to solve that puzzle and have some fun doing it. Emily Bloomquist and Dan Tracy caught up with the cubers to find out more.
2x2, 3x3, 4x4. Invented in 1974, the Rubik's Cube has become the world's top-selling puzzle game with over 300 million sold worldwide. Here at Iowa State, the Rubik's Cube Club is a mere semester old.
Like a club for just kind of have fun, do Rubik's Cubes, go to competitions, and just generally just have fun and teach other people about Rubik's Cubing.
A group of residents on the same floor of Barton Hall hatched the idea this fall. After taking the necessary administrative steps, the club members, known as cubers, now meet twice a week to practice their cube-solving skills.
There's just nomenclature like if you when you move the front face, the right face, the left face, how you hold the cube at certain times. And just if you can get that stuff down, and get the algorithms just kind of memorized, you can solve the cube.
Not only are there multiple ways to solve a cube, but there are many cubes to choose from. There are different dimensions ranging from a simple 2x2 to a complex 12x12, as well as a plethora of shapes.
The most amount of moves it takes to solve any given cube is 26 moves. And there are more possible permutations on a 3x3 cube than seconds have elapsed since the Big Bang.
Although some cubers are more experienced than others, the club's main focus is increasing membership and exposure on campus.
A lot of engineering and sciences like Iowa State that do have cube clubs because there's a lot of interest tending to be in those areas. But pretty much anyone can do cubing, and there's a wide variety of people who do the cube club here.
The combination of a competitive activity in a low-key environment keeps cubers coming back.
After you solve it that first time, you can't stop.
People who can't solve it, they look at you like, what's going on? It's a pretty fun thing to learn.
For ISUtv with Emily Bloomquist, I'm Dan Tracy.
All right, Dan, so I was there with you, and it really takes a lot of work and practice to get those cubes going. So.
It's definitely not easy. There were a lot of kids that were beginners there, but then there were some kids, as you saw, doing one with one hand, and it only took them about 30 seconds. So definitely all skill levels there, but it was pretty fun atmosphere, it seemed like.
Yep.
So how long did it take you to finish your cube?
I don't know, about 15, 20 seconds. No, it took a couple turns, but the guys at the cube helped me get it down to about 3 moves, so they were pretty nice.
All right, thanks, Dan.
Yep.
Now we take a closer look at one of Greek Week's more spirited events. Drew Norton and Rachel Malone have the story.
The Iowa State University Greek chapters celebrate their community each year. Greek Week will be held next week. This year's theme is, "We may stand out, but we never stand alone." The entire week is filled with service activities and competitions. One of those competitions is lip sync. Sororities and fraternities pair up to compete in Greek Week events. Alpha Gamma Delta, Beta Sigma Psi, and Beta Theta Pi make up one of the competing groups. Kelly Cole is one of 5 co-chairs for this pairing.
All right, lip sync is about a 2-month time period, and you start off when the co-chairs write a script, they pick songs, they think of characters, and they put that all together to then make up dances. So there's dances that tie into your skit. So it's a skit with dances, and then there's a big finale, and you try to incorporate the Greek Week theme. So you have something that everyone relates to, and you have fun things like a random dance move that everyone's required to do, and also a random sound that you have to incorporate.
The 13 competing groups will perform at CY Stevens this coming Tuesday for first cuts. 5 groups will make it onto finals the following Friday.
I just think it's so much fun, and you get to know so many people that you maybe wouldn't have known otherwise. Like, we're neighbors with our pairing, and I didn't even know any of them until we started lip sync. So you get to know a lot of people in the Greek community, and it really ties the Greek community together because you're paired with different people every time.
For ISUtv with Rachel Malone, I'm Drew Norton.
Iowa State is home to one of the country's top veterinary medicine programs. Dan Tracy and Emily Bloomquist tell us about one of the opportunities that students have to interact with wildlife.
The Lloyd Veterinary Medical Center employs more than 50 doctors and 50 veterinary professionals. But follow the paw prints, walk down a few long hallways, and you'll find the Wildlife Care Center, which is actually run by ISU students. Caitlin Latimer, junior in animal ecology, is one of 5 undergraduate students that work at the center.
We take in all sorts of wildlife except for skunks, bats, and raccoons. So we can't have rabies running around the vet hospital. But our main goal is to rehabilitate and send back into the wild. So we take orphaned animals, injured animals, sick animals, and help them get back to the wild.
The newest visitor to the center is a female mallard duck that came in from Des Moines.
She was apparently had a little lead poisoning anyway, and then later we found out she had a broken femur up high in her leg. So now she's all wrapped up, and we're trying to make her comfortable while she stays here and get her back to the wild as soon as possible.
When an animal is brought in, the staff performs a physical exam, gives the animal food and fluids, and puts them in a cage that is dark, warm, and quiet to reduce the animal's stress. Callie, a barred owl, is one of 6 permanent residents at the center.
She came in 2007 after being hit by a car. Most of our permanent birds here have been hit by cars. And so she has issues in her eyes now. She's mostly blind, too blind to be released into the wild, so she has to live here permanently with us now.
Of the 6 permanent residents at the center, 2 are blind, 2 have only 1 wing, and 2 have shoulder dislocations that prevent them from flying. In the spring, when babies are born, the center's counters are filled with newborns ready to be taken care of. Meanwhile, the center will continue to take in injured animals from around central Iowa.
Usually just a little stay here helps them get back on their feet and back into the wild.
For ISUtv with Emily Bloomquist, I'm Dan Tracy.
So, Dan, how often do they get new animals there at the Wildlife Center?
Actually, it was pretty interesting. While we were there shooting, there was actually a call in. I believe it was a duck from Nevada. So it was pretty interesting. The bird wasn't able to make it in. We were hoping that we could get there to get the bird being processed. But they get calls pretty regularly every week, I'd say so.
Yeah, and I have to say they're so organized and they have everything planned out, and looks like they really have a good place for the animals to rehabilitate and then get them back out in the wild if they can. So it was really interesting.
Definitely, the students there were very caring of the animals there, and it seemed like they were having a great time doing it too. So
definitely. Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
After the jump, we'll take you to all the sights and sounds of VISHA 2011, from the world record set at ISU to kick off VISHA
to this year's floats in the annual VISHA parade. Don't touch that remote. You're watching Newswatch, the year in review.